This is part 44 of my series on my N-gauge model railway project. Previous parts cover the project from its inception through the creation of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, building of scenic items, obtaining rolling stock, etc. The project is ongoing. This part covers the building and placing of the Metcalfe Brick Terraced Houses card kit. Here's the label from the kit. It contains the materials to build 2 pairs of houses with some scope for customization. I bought this kit a while ago from British Model Trains in Cambridge, Ontario, who I believe carry more Metcalfe kits than anyone else in North America. And since Nigel with British Model Trains is just half an hour up the road from me, it's much better for me to get these things from him than importing them myself from the UK. Here's the first pair underway. There is a sheet with curtains that comes with this kit, but I forgot to put curtains on the main windows before assembling this building round the floors. Here's the first pair underway from the back. Quite a lot more stuff will go onto the back here, hiding that join in the back walls. The roof has braces installed to keep it rigid at the right angle. Now the roof is on and the backyard walls are installed. The main sheet just has these plain gates on it. There are coloured gates on another sheet, but I missed them when doing this first pair of houses. I tried this first pair of houses in a couple of different places on the layout at this point to see where it might fit. The houses are still away from finished, but the basic size is clear at this stage. So I tried them here and there to see how they might go. Fitting bay windows to the houses is entirely optional. You can have them on all of the units, or some, or just not use them at all. I kind of like bay windows, as they were pretty common in the older houses of the Leicester of my youth, so I decided to use them, and I did remember to fit curtains to these. This is the back of the houses after more assembly. An extension comes out from which the back doors open, the walls are capped, etc. And here are the bay windows fitted to the front. I struggled a bit to colour the edges of these. Now the chimney caps and pots have been fitted and the ridge tiles to the roof. The instructions refer to the small items up against the back walls of the yard as sheds, but from my experience of terraced houses I would have thought they would more likely be outside toilets, at least when the houses were built. I wasn't very happy about the joining of the different roof sections, but the way the pieces fit together is rather awkward, and I couldn't do any better than this. It's definitely worth spending some time with these Metcalfe kits colouring the white edges of the card where they show, as this makes the resulting buildings look much more solid. I generally use a soft pencil for grey edges and either marker or watercolour paint for coloured edges. Here's that first pair of houses finding a home on the layout. Just by the level crossing beside Colville Station. I wanted to keep them near Colville Station, as that is the more urban area of the layout, and these houses are definitely urban. It was actually quite a few weeks later before I got around to working on the second pair of these houses. I always intended to use them, but I was working on various other things. Here are the main walls for the second pair. The black rectangles are to serve as backing for bay windows so that unwanted things can't be seen through them. I fitted these blackouts right at the start here, as I knew I intended to use the bay windows. Now I've fitted the rest of the glazing to these main walls. The main windows supplied are a mixture of sash type with a single horizontal divide and 4 pane with cross dividers. The instructions don't really cover this, and the 2 types are all labelled the same on the glazing sheet, so you just need to sort of make up your own mind how you want to use the 2 types. You do have to use some of each, as there aren't enough of either type to do everything. The chimney which is formed into the main walls wraps around a former. This is one of those labelled in the instructions as main formers. I first tried to wrap this chimney round the back former, as this chimney seemed to be at the back, but the former labelled as back is for the chimney on the small back extension. It's a different size anyway, so you can't really wrap this chimney round it. The main walls wrap around a mid-floor and a top floor, both made of heavy card. The mid-floor sits on top of the doors and the folded tabs, and the top floor goes flush with the top of the walls. The walls fold around and join quite neatly, but I forgot to put the curtains on the main windows again. The houses fit onto a base which provides the paving of the backyards and also a pavement in front. The fit is quite neat. One wall of the houses sits down into a groove in the base, providing a positive location. Next, the main roof goes on, first fitted with braces to reinforce it and keep it at the correct angle. I found one of the most awkward parts of this kit was the way the different roof sections are supposed to fit at the back here. I couldn't really get an entirely satisfactory result. Another awkward item is this central main chimney. There's no problem making it like this by wrapping the printed card round a former. But when you come to fit it, you're basically just putting it through a hole in the roof with nothing to really determine how far in it goes and nothing to glue it to other than the edges of the roof. The fit would have been much more positive if the chimney former had been made long enough to sit down onto the top floor. As it is, I just tried to get it at the right height by looking along like this and comparing it to the other chimney, but it's hard to glue it at all firmly like this. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad, but you have to handle it carefully when putting on the chimney pots and when edging it, or you'll dislocate it as the fit isn't very firm. The backyard walls fit round the edges of the base and slot into the fold on the corners of the main walls. The yard walls are doubled by folding over before fitting them, and then inner pieces are fitted afterwards to make a final 3-layer structure. The rear gabled extensions with the back doors is fitted next. I used the coloured doors which are offered again as extra parts on another sheet. I also remembered to fit curtains to these windows. Here's the inside of that wall showing the curtains, doors and chimney fitted. This is the chimney that uses the former labelled as back. The instructions suggest fitting card between the curtains and the windows, but I really don't think that's necessary in end gauge, and fitting the curtains is fiddly enough as it is. Now that back piece is folded up round floors, ready for fitting to the main building. The back piece is glued on, then its roof is fitted, which, as I say, I just couldn't really get to look quite right. Then the little outhouses are fitted between the rear extension and the yard walls. I remembered to use the coloured gates for this pair of houses. They're on a different sheets to the main gates as extra parts. Now back to the front. The bay windows need to be done. If I'd left off the blackout pieces, I could have just had flat windows on the front if I'd wanted to. The bay windows are actually a bit of a devil to assemble. The formers provided for them a thin card rather than the heavy card used for the building and chimney formers, and it's very difficult, at least for me, to try to glue the folding pieces to the edges of this thin card to make the correct shape. The instructions say that you shouldn't need to glue the glazing for the bay windows at all. I did not find this true. I absolutely needed to glue it. I also needed to shave it down a bit to make it fit. I did remember to fit curtains to the bay windows, where I think they're especially of benefit. The roofs of the bay windows aren't terribly satisfactory. They're just made of 2 flat pieces of black card, and I wasn't able to get a very good appearance with them. Still, I think I'd rather have the bay windows than not. I wish I'd remembered to fit curtains to the main upstairs windows. Rolling these darn chimney pots from the little strips of coloured paper provided on the instruction sheet is always a part of building Metcalfe kits that I dread. I roll them round a cut-off toothpick, but it's really hard to glue them and make them look halfway okay. You need 8 chimney pots for each pair of these houses, 3 for each of the main chimneys and 2 for the back chimney. The place where the paper ends always shows, and getting them all the same size is hard. Some tend to end up more loosely wound than others. The chimney capstones are then made from 2 pieces of card, and the chimney pots are glued onto the capstones. I find that a lot of glue is needed for this, or the pots tend to come loose. I used an emery board to smooth off the tops of the chimneys to try to ensure a level fit for the capstones. I use a black permanent marker to black in the tops of the chimney pots. It's quite hard to try to hide all of the paper edges. Then the capstones and pots are fitted on top of the chimneys. Now I do my best to colour the card edges using soft pencil, marker and paint. The edges of the bay window roofs were particularly hard to do well. Here's the back with my edging efforts underway. That roof join still bothers me, but I don't quite see what could be done about it. And now the second pair of houses go onto the layout, on the other side of the level crossing from the first pair. Not many other places they could be put. Even here the fit is not quite logical, as the back gates are right up against the rails. I guess I'm just running out of room. The whole layout board is getting quite built up now. I have some trees that I intend to use mainly in the back area by the rural backdrop. Anyway, there we are. The brick houses are done and on the layout. This is the view from where I control, and I'm fairly happy with how they look from here.